Busy, busy, busy. Day 11. Let's jump into current events. We'll tie it into useful things. Let's look at the status of the political theater, the nonsense, the show of clowns. We'll just establish the setting from the beginning and say, fuck Joe Biden, and for what it's worth, fuck Donald Trump. This will not be the political discussion that you are hoping for or expecting. I personally ascribe to a libertarian philosophy and political science, even though at the core of libertarianism there really isn't the need for a party to govern people, because let's just go without government as far as I'm concerned. Anarchy in its true state looks to me to be very blissful. But be it as it may, let's dive in to why it's so detrimental right now and what you can do about it. What you can actually do about it. Alright. For what it's worth, Trump is not running against Biden. Biden might as well be a pile of rocks or a tree or a dead man or a scarecrow in a field. Trump is running against himself in terms of either you love him or you hate him, and that is why people will be going to the polls. The conservatives and the liberals ultimately are being manipulated behind the scenes by the same forces that seek to control mankind in very malevolent ways. What we see right now is a very high polarization of political philosophies, and certainly some of the rules and regulations that they want to enforce on the daily level are very different. But ultimately, the much bigger script that has been written, all roads lead to hell in that regard. So the liberals of today don't recognize anything of the liberals of maybe even 20, certainly 40 years ago, as they are a platform that once believed in civil liberties and free speech, and never have we ever seen such limitations in the modern world with censorship, and that being shoved down people's throats through the woke agenda and the progressive movement. It's pretty gross, really. The left is so far left, they're kind of out of the radar. Trump isn't even conservative, really, more of a centrist, a bit of a populist. I suppose my gripe I have with those against Trump is by and large their disdain for him, and cop in the road, is predicated on things they've seen in the media, which is almost laughable, what they cherry pick. That notwithstanding, the entire Q phenomenon is certainly intriguing, and you'd be hard-pressed not to be persuaded on some level that certain good actions are transpiring while he is in office. Again, if you get any of your information from the mainstream media, you might as well just admit you're watching a Hollywood film, because you can't really believe what they're saying. That aside, the concern with Trump is who ultimately controls him. He has very deep ties to Israel. And in much the same way that words have now been overused to mean not what they're intentionally meant for, such as racism, the anti-Semitism propaganda creeps up quite a bit so that you're not allowed to talk about what Israel's really up to. So, where the left is funded by Gates and Soros in very devastating ways, Trump too has his deep pocket donors. Adelson is one of them, representing the agenda on that side. Hence my hesitation in wanting to believe that he's as good as it possibly could be. So, what does that mean? Well, we have seen the erosion of public faith in democracy with the impending election. See, they've already set the stage for you. Regardless of who wins, who loses, people are going to cry foul. They want that seed in your mind because they want to destabilize the country, right? So far polar. It's been bifurcated. People hating each other, not really knowing why, because they're being poked and prodded through their emotions, through their five senses. And so, if things get so bad, and if the election ends up being so devastating to either side in terms of fraud and all the hair pulling and hand wringing that's going to follow, meaning riots and violence, people will demand some sort of solution, some centralized plan, right? Force. Beginning of Marxism all over again. Okay, so that's all been plotted. Your vote doesn't count for shit. I'd recommend staying home and flossing your teeth or something instead of going to the polls. Maybe if we got a true candidate, it might be worth spending the time, but that doesn't exist. So, focus on what you have the greatest impact on. That's your immediate life, the things that you can control. Forget about the polls for now. I highly recommend you doing a little bit deeper research into what's going on behind the scenes. But just know that you're all being played like a fiddle to dance and jump and let your emotions dictate. So you gotta stay grounded, focus on what you really can control, and stay out of the mess, stay out of the violence, get out of the cities, do what's best for you.